Okay, now that we have this recording going, I want to make sure you are all looking. One more time, I'm going to show you. You have your first pencil today, which is an ebony pencil. You have your blending stump, and then you have an eraser. A variety of erasers are out there, so make sure that you guys are paying close attention to which one you have and hold on to it, okay? So this very first one, we're going to do a value scale from the lightest being white to the darkest being the darkest you can possibly color with this beautiful ebony pencil. Okay, I will tell you, I love ebony pencils because, I'm going to go to a blank sheet of paper, because you can shade very, very lightly. You can see how very, very light that is. You can go to something that's a little bit richer, a little bit more than that, and you can keep going with a little bit more pressure to add something that's actually quite dark. And so I want you to realize I love an ebony pencil because you can do beautiful lights and all the way through dark. Now I also want to show you the blending stump. This blending stump, I would highly recommend that you labeled it light and dark, or L and D. Only because if you start off using this and you use both sides kind of randomly, it gets dirty very quickly. Back of the room? Thanks. So I'm going to start off with my light. I rub this over the top, and you're going to see it becomes much more blended. So on this one, I'm just going to rub the top half. It also deepens the color a little bit because it's more blended and spread, okay? So I'm blending up here at the top half, kind of keeping my hand out of here so you can see it a little bit more. And you can see that that color is just becoming more smooth, which is a really important feature when you're working with a blending stump. So ebony pencil is a really nice dark pencil, but it also can do very light values. Now for the lightest of values, I'm going to give you my favorite tip for the lightest of values. You don't even use your pencil. You use that dirty blending stump and you just rub a little bit of what's remaining off to the side and maybe use a clean part of your blending stump to blend it in. See how it's barely even noticeable right over here? That's why I love using the blending stump for the lightest of lights. Now, of course, if it's a bright highlight, you're going to keep it paper white if that's your brightest highlight. Like, you know, the beautiful little catch lights in the eyeball when it's glimmering with maybe like the light from a window, etc. Those are all things that are going to stay very, very white. Okay? So with that, I'm going to have you guys go to your very first value scale. And you're going to get that in just a minute. And on this value scale, again, this is going to be the lightest. We're going to keep that one white. You're going to move to a little bit darker, a little bit darker. This one will be a medium tone. Then it's a medium dark tone, and then the darkest tone possible. Recommendation, if you start from your darkest and you work your way over, I think that helps out quite a bit. So if I come over here to the darkest section, I'm going to turn my paper to make it easier. I want you to notice, if this is my paper, let me go sideways here. This is my paper. I am approaching it probably at that kind of an angle. My pencil is almost laying down. I very seldom will shade with the pencil on point, unless it's a little teeny tiny area. So definitely keep that in mind. The other thing that I will do is I will actually take, because this is very, very pointed pencil, I will actually scribble with this on a piece of paper to dull that point down so I can use it a little bit more effectively. So if it's too pointy, get a piece of scrap paper, scribble, scribble, scribble to soften that edge, okay? So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to shade in the darkest possible throughout the square. Now I also want to make sure to try to keep minimal lines. Yours should be blended nicely with very minimal lookings of lines. You don't really want to see a lot of those lines, so I'm going to go back at a diagonal to kind of blend that back. And then I'm going to come in with the blending stump on the dark side, and I'm going to blend that. Okay? So that one is nicely blended. Next tip, are we ready? So as I blend, maybe I go outside the line a little bit. What I want to do is get a nice clean line there. So watch what happens. If I grab a sheet of paper, I'm just going to therapy, so it's not a huge sheet. If I grab a sheet of paper and I put it over my drawing, but like right on that line, I could use that as a block. That's actually going to allow me to erase right over. Notice I'm erasing over that piece of paper. That's in slow motion. I then brush it all away before I move my paper. Again, it's not a super loose medium. It's not super blendy, but it moves a lot. So if you brush your hand over the top of it, you're going to streak that color. Once I remove that block, I now have a nice clean line. So again, put it right up to your section that you need a nice line. Go ahead and clean up, brush it away, and then remove it. Okay? Same thing goes as you're blending. If I'm coming over here to do the next section, so this is kind of a medium dark, pardon me turning the paper again. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do that nice medium dark. And let's say I go to blend over here, but I don't want it to leak into the next section, or over here to a lighter section. Use your block. Then do your blending. You can blend right over that sheet of paper while keeping it nice and clean. Okay? So I'm going to continue working. I'll do a really quick screenshot then of what the finished one will look like as you guys are getting started. Again, starting with this dark, I'm going to do it really quick. This is probably a good medium dark right here. This is a good medium. This is a good light. And then this last one is nothing. So if that gives you a good picture as to the values we're looking for, that's exactly where I want you to be by the end of this value scale in particular. I'm hoping we'll get to move on into hatching and cross hatching, but we'll see how time goes for today. But that's where you're going to go. Do a great job.